So let's go to the former ambassador to China and a former Commerce Secretary as well, Gary Locke. Ambassador, thank you for taking the time. What do you make of these, these overtures, sir, on the part of the Chinese leader?
Well, we've heard these promises before. In fact, every speech that the Chinese leaders give and top government officials give, they say the same thing. We've heard it year after year after year, and very little action. In fact, when Xi Jinping came into power, there was great excitement over many reforms that he was announcing. Unfortunately, many of those reforms have been slowed down or have been shelved. And so it's an encouraging sign, but again, the proof is in the pudding, and we're going to have to wait and see as to whether or not they really follow through. What are the time frames by which they will implement some of these assurances? American companies, foreign companies have long had grievances with the industrial policies of China. The fact that they limit foreign investment. So many sectors of the Chinese economy are off limits to foreign investment, whereas virtually no limits in the United States to any type of foreign investment from China or Germany or any other place. But financial services, transportation, automotive sector, energy, many of those are off limits. And if American companies do invest in China, they have to do it with a partner. And when they have that partner, they have to share their technology, their know-how, their expertise with those partners, who eventually will run with it and become competitors to the American companies.
You know, in other words, you're kind of saying trust but verify here, and I can't blame you. I mean, there's always been a rap and a concern around the numbers we get out of China, even back in the days. You know, you were representing this country during the Obama administration about whether we could trust the data we were getting out of China. There would be some quarters, I think they were claiming to grow at a double-digit rate. Well, that's statistically and technically possible. It's kind of inconceivable, but nevertheless, it is what it is, and China is an economic juggernaut. So going forward, we would have to have clear benchmarks, right, to make sure they're living up to whatever they're committed to.
Yes, and for instance, they've been saying for quite some time they want to improve the climate for intellectual property in China, and in fact, they have been making progress. They're changing their legal system, their court system, to actually kind of mirror what we have in the United States. They're trying to centralize the court decisions so there's more consistency and higher caliber decisions as opposed to decisions being made at the local level.
They control those court decisions, right?
Yes, they can in many cases, although there's many American companies have been winning court cases over intellectual property in China. But again, the progress is slow. We need them to continue those efforts, and we need to make sure that they're not forcing American companies to transfer and share their technology as a condition of doing business in China. But clearly, imposing tariffs is the wrong way to go. That's really going to hurt the consumers and American companies ultimately in a trade war.
If they were hurting, right, Ambassador, I mean, and the Chinese are conceding, albeit you have to check what they're doing, wouldn't that be a kick that this rather crass approach, as some of the guests I've had on this show have put it, works? It gets the desired response.
Well, I really believe that there are many other ways in which we can exert pressure on the Chinese to open up their markets, to level the playing field,
but they never
to
have,
allow
right?
American companies to invest.
And I know you tried.
Well, but we've never tried.
But
we've never invoked those tools, and I think there are more strategic, effective tools that the international community can use, and we need to join together, because it's not just American companies that have concerns about doing business in China; it's other countries as well. We need to make sure that all countries force China to play by the rules, and perhaps we should limit and reciprocate by saying, if you're not going to open up your markets and your sectors to foreign investment, if you're going to require those transfers of technology, then we're going to do the same of your Chinese companies here in America or Europe or elsewhere, that we're going to close off our sectors of our economy to foreign investment from China.
That sounds like tariffs by another name.
No, it's saying that you can't invest in America if you don't allow Americans to invest in China. But if you impose a tariff, for instance, on Chinese goods coming into the United States, a lot of those are components that American manufacturers use in making their products. It's going to raise the price of their product that they ultimately sell, either in America or abroad, which makes that American product less competitive, reduces sales of that American product. And for consumer goods, I mean, there are certain consumer goods, a vast amount, that are only made in China. And so virtually all microwaves are made in China. So you raise a tariff on goods coming from China, the American consumer has no choice but to buy that Chinese good at a higher price, which means less money in their pockets for vacation, buying an automobile, remodeling their home, or the college education of their kids.
You think, depending on how that argument were made, Ambassador, I guess it depends at the time and the moment, to make a compelling patriotic case that's in our interest, you're going to feel pain. The president seemed to hint at it with an indirect reference to farmers and the potential pain they could face, that this is the right thing to do. It will hurt in the beginning, but longer term it will be a good thing. Do you think Americans will respond to that?
I don't think they will, because especially if there are other tools that are available to try to get at the same result without inflicting the pain on American consumers or on American companies. Because once we get into a trade war, China can impose tariffs on U.S. goods. They do not have to buy a Boeing airplane. They can buy Airbus. They do not have to buy soybeans from American farmers. They can buy plenty of soybeans from Brazil and many other countries in Latin America. So who's really going to lose?
I don't know if all those soybeans would be enough to satisfy their demand, right? I mean, there's a lot of it, right?
There's a lot of it, but if they reduce their purchases of American soybeans in half and made up for it with the bumper crop that's available in Brazil and many of the other countries in South America,
right.
I mean, yes, there will be some pain. There will be pain on both sides in a trade war.
True
Nobody
enough.
wins in a trade war.
No, true enough.
But there are more effective tools to get at the concerns that American companies and other foreign companies have regarding China's policies.
Ambassador, thank you very much for checking in with us.
Thank
Always
you.
good seeing you. Ambassador Gary Locke.